morning and welcome to the first Westmoreland County Forum for Workforce Development. It's the first of its kind in the county, and we are real pleased that we have such a huge turnout this morning representing business, education, and industry. My name is Bill Kerr. I'm the Superintendent of Norwin School District, and somehow among my colleagues of the steering committee, which is made up of business, industry, and education representatives, I was chosen to facilitate this process today. It is indeed an honor to have our guests with us today, and we're going to start, before we actually do introductions, we'd like to have some welcome remarks by the Chairman of the Board of Commissioners of Westmoreland County, Colonel Mr. Charles Anderson.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome. Welcome to this incredible facility. This is really a gem here in Westmoreland County to get things started here this morning. You know, we as county commissioners, it's our job to create an environment where business can thrive and where the economic circle of life can grow and be nurtured. And facilities, and we do this by supporting facilities like we're sitting in right now. You know, young people coming into this area need to be, and you are all, pushing, educating and putting people out. And facilities like this not only create jobs, but they create careers. And we can keep the people that you educate in the area, so they don't have to go someplace else to look for jobs. This place is absolutely thriving. You know, you look at Westmoreland County today, the unemployment rate is below the state and the federal level. We have the value of real estate is going up. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities here, but facilities like this will create jobs for the future of this county. So that's what this is all about. This is about moving forward, about keeping our young people on track, and to educate them so that they can stay here and be employed and move this county forward. So thanks for coming out here this morning. This is super. We get to educate these kids for jobs of the future, and that's what we're doing here today. But thank you very much. Great to be with you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to take a few extra moments this morning and also hear from Commissioner Kopis and Commissioner Tyler Courtney. Ted?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Ted Kopis of that duo, Courtney and Kopis. I was putting my 7-year-old on the bus this morning, and he asked me, he goes, well, what are you in such a hurry for? Where are you going this morning? So, of course, I flustered all that. I said, believe it or not, I said, I'm going to go talk to the people that run the schools, every school in Westmoreland County. He looked at me kind of big-eyed as a 7-year-old can do and said, well, that's kind of scary. And I thought to myself, and I looked at him and I said, yes, it is. So it is good to be in a room full of such great leaders in this county. A couple things I wanted to mention this morning. You know, Chuck was right on a number of things. When we opened this building, one of the things I said that day, and I think we all sort of said in different ways, was that this building is everything it should be. It has every accommodation, it has every high-tech gizmo and gadget you want to have in a modern training center. And today, and already, it's already delivering on the promise of what it's supposed to be. It's getting folks like you in a room to talk about how to improve our economy, how to make sure young people are being trained for the jobs of not just today, but tomorrow. I don't know that prior to this building, we'd all be sitting in a room together. But the building's only one part of it. I also want to praise the leadership of Dr. Kerr, all the superintendents in this room, certainly the folks from our Industrial Development Corporation, Chamber of Commerce, Economic Growth Connection, all these folks working together to get the right minds in a room. And good things can only happen when the right people are talking, right? So I'm convinced that having all of you in this room is going to help make our county a better place. It's going to train our young people for what they need to do, and it's going to get everyone thinking maybe just a little bit differently. which is where all the great ideas are born. So thank you all for being here this morning. I think it's immensely important you're all here, and it's my pleasure to have an opportunity to say good morning and welcome you all. Enjoy the day.
Good morning, everybody. I guess I'm the last commissioner, and I know you don't want to hear us all speak all morning, but I want to thank you all for coming out this morning. When you step out on a Friday night onto the football field, your schools individually are competitors. When you step on the basketball field or on the basketball court, you know we're competing against each other. But today, it's about bringing everybody together to work together and take advantage of the facility that we have here. When we can keep our kids here and working here and raising their families here. I moved away, I went to school in North Carolina, I came back to raise my family here because I believe in what we have in Westmoreland County. And we're very fortunate to have everything here. We've got a lot of great schools, we've got a lot of great parents, a lot of great companies, and we have a lot of great individuals running these schools. So it's important to take advantage of this. And this center is hopefully going to be able to bring a lot of that together and keep our students here and train the next generation of employees that are going to be here to keep companies coming into this area and wanting to be in Westmoreland County. Interesting fact, Westmoreland County is the oldest population in the state right now, if you didn't know that. Our average age is 47 years old. We are in for a tremendous changeover in the employment status of the people in this county and where we're going to go. And you're going to help set that tone because the people you're educating right now, the students that are in your schools, are going to be the people, the young people that are going to help this county grow and replace the workers that are retiring and moving on. And this center is going to be part of that. And I'm glad that we're all able to work as a common voice to take us forward. So thank you for coming today. You know, you have our full support as commissioners and obviously with the chamber and everybody else involved with this. So thank you very much. Enjoy the day and thanks for your teamwork.
Once again, I'd like to thank Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Kopis, Commissioner Tyler Courtney. Thank you very much for being here. I know you have a very busy schedule, but you're certainly welcome to stay along the way here this morning as we go through the agenda. One of the things that we're so excited about here in Westmoreland County, in addition to the leadership of the commissioners and all that they do to connect education, workforce quality, and economic development, is the fact that we have a new president at the helm of the Westmoreland County Community College. It's my pleasure. Some of you may be meeting the doctor for the first time, but Dr. Tuesday Stanley's with us for a couple comments. We appreciate your leadership as well in these few months that you've been with us.
I can really run off a crowd, right? And Jim told me, you have just a couple of minutes, and then I realize he's on the agenda after me, so he's probably, you know, not wanting me to encroach on all the wisdom he's going to impart. But good to see you here. Thank you for coming today, and I have met many of you, and so thank you for that opportunity and for being so gracious to me as a newbie in the area. We did move from Kansas City, Missouri here. I do have 3 kids in the school district. Thank you for taking good care of them. They were on time today. My 10th grader overslept, but my husband took him. So I said, oh my gosh, you have to get him there on time. Are you kidding me? I'm seeing all of the leadership this morning. That's going to be terrible if they're late. So we, you know, seeing is believing. And so we can talk about the ATC and we can talk about the impact, but bar none, everybody who's come here and is able to tour the facility is enthused, and they start talking about what we can do together. And we are open to that because that is why we're here. This building was not just built because we want to open the door and feel great about a facility and say, you know, we're new and we're on the rise. It is here for all of us to take advantage of. It's here for our community to take advantage of. I am starting to be encouraged as I was watching the news yesterday morning on CNN. One of the broadcasters started talking about when it's not right for a student to get a 4-year degree. And it was just an impromptu conversation they were having at the desk. This was not one of their news clips. And so she went on to say, you know, it's not right for you if you don't want to take on all the debt, if you're not real enthused about school because you're not going to stick with it, and if you want to do something that doesn't require a 4-year degree. And then they started talking about things like welding and plumbing and even some of the engineering trades. So I thought, wow, okay, these people, right, like probably many of us have advanced degrees, and yet they're starting to understand that there are so many jobs where you can get a family wage income and you don't have to go the route of a 4-year degree. And that's the message that we want to start delivering to our youth so that they can sustain their family and do something they love, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. If you love it, you'll stick with it and you'll be successful. So please let us know what you would like to do to help our youth. We will do the same. And again, we're all in this together. It's all to improve the communities we live in. And I'm a little depressed because I think I'm on the cusp of that average age, which you said was like the oldest in the state of Pennsylvania. So I'm gonna go have some coffee and try to, like, you know, rebuild my self-esteem on that one.
Sorry about that.
I know. Every day I get a fact. My kids ground me pretty well. Every day you get a fact that's just, you're like, wow, I'm one step closer to, you know, the banana peel. But nonetheless, welcome and thank you so much. And thank you, Bill, for hosting.
Thank you, Dr. Stanley. Once again, we're so pleased to have you in Westmoreland County. This young lady has lots of energy and stamina, so we expect good things in the future. Wanted to introduce Jim Smith, Chad Amon, and Jason Rigoni to come up here. These gentlemen, they're like the trio of Westmoreland County. They help make things happen from good, strong, effective leadership. But one of the things I want to point out before I have Jim take the mic, of course, Jim is the Executive Director of the Economic Growth Connection of Westmoreland. And 2 years ago at the luncheon, he talked about how important it was to connect education with business and industry. And Jim put out a proposal that we get superintendents, the Executive Director, Dr. Matta of the IU, and of course the 3 career and tech centers in the county involved and better connected with business and industry. And Jim proposed that there be at least a position or 2 on his board, and I'm pleased to announce that Chris Oldham from Ligonier Valley and I both serve on Jim's board. He actually set the stage, and he's the catalyst that really brought all of this together through his organization and also with the help of Chad from the Chamber and Jason from the Industrial Development Corporation. Without further ado, Mr. James Smith.
You know, it's nice to be in a room with so many articulate folks who say so many nice things. We got Huey, Dewey, and Louie up here, or the 3 Stooges, ready to talk about economic development. But it's incredibly important that we all have this conversation. And it's something that the 3 of us, we started this idea a couple of years ago, looking at the demographics, realizing that we are the oldest county in Pennsylvania, 7th oldest, I think, in the nation. I mean, we've got some challenges. Knowing as well that we've got a lot of assets. We've got a wonderful base of manufacturing. We've got centers like this. We've got political leaders who are willing to make investments in the important things. And then we've got all of you. And we realized quickly that this is a wonderful place. And the only difference between, say, a Pittsburgh and a Boston is expectation. You know, people who grow up in Boston, who grow up in Denver, who grow up in places that have that sense of community expect to stay there. We don't do that here. You know, part of that reason is because we're not training people for the jobs that are here. We've got wonderful, wonderful career opportunities, and it doesn't always require a 4-year degree. Not that we're here to bash 4-year degrees. I did the college sampler tour. I've been to 4 of the places. I love them. They're great. But that doesn't mean that it's for everyone, and it doesn't mean that it has to be for everyone. And I think you're going to hear an awful lot today about the different kind of options. And we're all working, I think, on the same problem, different facets. And I think if we work together, it'll be a lot more effective. So we're kind of hitting the time limit here, but I wanted to say thank you for coming. it's important that we have this conversation, and I'll turn it over to Chad.
I'll be very brief because Jason has 45 minutes of prepared material for you. Westmoreland County Chamber couldn't be more pleased to be a part of this group. In fact, I argued at the planning session that I didn't want to be at the front of the podium because this isn't at all about the chamber. It's not about Jim. It's not about Jason's organization. It's about you. And then on the way in this morning, I was thinking, no, it's not really about you. It's about the students. And I thought, well, it's not really about the students. It's about us. It's about us as a community. If you look at some of the numbers, some of the things that we do know, 30% of the workforce at Kendall is going to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to leave a huge gap. They need a lot of skilled workers, and that goes across the entire county. Employers across the county are going to be seeing the same things, that they need skilled workers. And so the things that we don't know is exactly how we're going to solve it, but one of the things that we do know is that we need to bring together the right people. And if you look at that wall, those are the people that are going to help to solve skills mismatch that we have in our community. So I thank you for being here on behalf of the Westmoreland County Chamber. All of you taking the time out of your day to be a part of this conversation is overwhelming to us. We appreciate what you do, and we're going to look forward to a great forum today. Thank you very much for being here.
Good morning. Thanks, Chad. Great motivational speech. And I appreciate it. I do not have 45 minutes. In fact, I only have a few minutes. I want to get you into the rest of the presentation for today, which I think is very important. I wanted to thank you for coming out and sparing some of your very valuable time. My position as director for the county's Industrial Development Corporation, one of the primary facets is marketing Westmoreland County. Primarily marketing it from a manufacturing basis, whether we're working with existing companies or we're working to attract new companies. And so I guess the little part I want to talk to you today real quickly about is why it's important. Companies that come in every day, they're looking for different things, whether it's land, whether they're looking for buildings, whether they're looking for tax incentives, financing. We all work together on a lot of those things. But one of the most important aspects of trying to attract and grow our local companies is the workforce. You know, we had a company in from Europe 2 weeks ago here at this facility. They talked about a lot of different things, asked a lot of different questions. The primary thing that they talked about or they asked about was the workforce, not only in terms of existing, but future. Companies are located in this building like Acmeon Energy. Their primary focus was what employment is going to be there, what workforce is going to be there to support their business. So this dialogue, this constant line of communication needs to continue to go. We appreciate you coming in today. As Chad had stated, it's not about you, it's not about us, it's not about children, it's really about us, it's the community. Because I think that if we set up the right programs, the right system, you're doing a lot of great things already. We can just expand on that a bit. We'll have a better community as we move forward. You'll make my job a lot easier when someone comes in and says, do you have the trained workforce that we're looking for? I can easily say and sincerely say, yes, we do. So thank you for being here. But at this point, I guess I'll turn it back over to Dr. Kerr.
Thank you, Jason. No doubt in my mind, these three young gentlemen, they've got their act together and the priorities and the best interest of Westmoreland County. I'd like you to give them a round of applause. As we talk about better connecting education and workforce quality and economic development, I think one of the most outstanding leaders in the region is Doug Jensen. Doug Jensen is very close to completing his doctorate, so soon we'll be able to call him Dr. Jensen. He's a hard worker. He is, in fact, the executive director of the Advanced Technology Center as well as vice president for economic development. He has all the knowledge and skills and abilities to help grow this facility in cooperation with all of us. Without further ado, let us welcome Mr. Doug Jensen.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'm going to be walking, but I'll be up there. I can take that one too. Well, thank you, everybody. Let me get this started here, and then we will. As everybody has said today, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Advanced Technology Center on behalf of our Board of Trustees and our college community. We welcome you here today to be part of this. I'm going to push this out of the way. This is set up for an event a little bit here later. But what we're going to do today is kind of try to set the stage for the importance of some of the conversations that you've heard here speaking at the beginning of this process. But we'd like to welcome you from the perspective of the college. We think this is a valuable partnership. There's a lot of new change going on in the county, and I think we're all part of that change. And I think if we can come together and talk about how we can leverage these opportunities, I think we can do something that is very unique, not only for the region, but for the nation. So some of the topics that we'll be talking a little bit about today is workforce, economic development, community development, STEM education, the concept of flexibility and access, the ability to respond quickly, agility, stakeholder input, new instructional models, how do we design, develop, and implement moving forward, and plan, do, check, act, and follow up. How do we keep the momentum that we're going to start today moving forward? So one of the things that you will see throughout our presentation as we look at the region is there's really this synergy between economic development, workforce development, and community development. If we want to have a strong economy, we have to have a strong workforce. If we want to have a strong workforce, we have to have strong communities. And if we're going to have strong communities, we have to have a strong economic development. And one of the things that is unique with the manufacturing and energy sector that is in this area, the STEM-mindedness of the career opportunities that are coming is going to be critical for us as we move forward. And I think we're well positioned as a region with the leadership in our 17 school districts, as well as the higher education community, the CTCs. We're in a position to start moving this STEM conversation forward. So what are some of the economic impacts from the college's perspective? Basically $273 million an annual impact to the region's economy, $31 million net added income to the 4-county region because of the activities here, $304 million average annual income due to the activities, which is 1.6% of the total surrounding county economy. And 97% of the graduates remain here in southwestern Pennsylvania. That's very important as we start looking at not only from a family perspective, but the opportunity, the investments we're making from our political leadership and our public and philanthropic leadership, that those dollars are staying here and those investments that we're making into people are staying in this area and helping to grow our region. So some of you have seen these conversations, and even Dr. Stanley mentioned this a little bit earlier today. In the coming years, jobs requiring at least associate degree are expected to grow faster than jobs requiring no college experience, as well as college degrees, baccalaureate degrees. So what does this mean to us in terms of our employers? So I'm going to start looking at this from the employer perspective. When you look at the dollar amount that employers are investing into their workforce and trying to keep that workforce skilled and trained, there's almost $450 billion being spent nationally in that type of an investment. And a lot of that investment is referring to informal educational investments. When you look at the pathway models for the career and technical education pathways, how do we start preparing those individuals? There's a tremendous amount of resources that are out there that are available to us. So how do we start leveraging those resources to start creating the world-class workforce that this region already has the infrastructure in? With our manufacturing community, many people do not realize how deep and how rich our manufacturing community is. Many of you, I passed out an article this morning, you'll see in the paper about the world of additive manufacturing and 3D printing and rapid prototyping. Those are all careers that are starting to evolve. But we also have tremendous assets in the energy sector. When you look at the region from an energy perspective, if you listen to the Allegheny Conference speak on energy, there's like 9 major sectors of energy. Southwestern Pennsylvania represents 6 of those. We have the commodity-based energies, oil, gas, and coal. We also have nuclear. We are one of the, we have some of the leading companies in the world in nuclear technology, wind, and the power grid. So there's a lot going on in our region in terms of energy as well. So as you move forward here and you start looking at what are the job opportunities, I've heard many of the commissioners speak about today and talk about the quality of life and people. The opportunity for jobs that pay $50,000 or more are very real in this economy and these opportunities. And these job opportunities have one thing that are usually in common. Technical skills require STEM-mindedness. We all talk about the engineering and the technology component, but the foundation of science and mathematics is where all of that rests. And we have to make sure that we're building that STEM-mindedness all the way through our educational system, starting off in the earliest grades and then continuing well past graduation, because we're in an economy now where everybody will be continuing their education for years that they're working. So the college response to that was to open the Advanced Technology Center on August 21st, 2014. It was basically a 3-year project from the design to the build to the opening. And we're very happy to have had this occur this fall. And there's been a lot of positive environment that's been created because of this. And a lot of people are very excited about that opportunity. So some of the programming that we have added and we're focusing on here, as you can see, is basically around the energy and the manufacturing sector. You're going to hear talk about some of these new types of career opportunities. You're also going to see about short-term stackable credentials, how we can get individuals connected with degrees and certificates very quickly. Then they'll go on to employment. Employers will invest in continuing those degree opportunities. So people don't have to take on a lot of debt initially. They can get experience and skills and education at the same time. And we're actually building that down with our partners here from the CTCs, Marie's in the background, and I know I saw some of the other folks, how we're now offering degree options for our CTC students. So when they're walking across the stage for their high school graduation, they're also receiving a college certificate in applied industrial technology. So what are some of the numbers in terms of manufacturing? If you look at the region, about $13 billion. Manufacturing ranks for national recovery, ranked Pittsburgh as 19th of the 388 metropolitan areas, and manufacturing is ranked 6th of the 10 sectors, about 7.7%. But here's what question I challenge you with. If we had as little as a 10% decline in the manufacturing sector, what would that do to us? That would take $130 million out of the economy. You take $130 million out of some of these small communities and some of these small neighborhoods, that is a dramatic, devastating impact. So we have to start looking at some of these numbers, manufacturing and energy, as an asset. And like, what do we do with any asset? We have to look at how do we protect it, how do we invest in it, how do we leverage it, how do we ensure that it keeps going? So when you start looking at these types of numbers, the scary part is as simple as a 10% decline could be devastating for our region. So the purpose of the Advanced Technology Center will be to be a regional asset. It is not, as Dr. Stanley said, it's not about the college. It's a place where we can reach out regionally and start building these type of initiatives that will make this region strong, not only from an economic point of view, but also from a community point of view. So the strategy of the regional asset was to tactically locate the ATC here in the industrial development park. There's a lot of incentives for that because we want to make sure that we're tied to the businesses. So as you see these new startup businesses coming out of Carnegie Mellon, University of Pittsburgh, as Jason mentioned earlier, some companies from Europe looking to relocate to back onshore here to the United States. They're looking at these types of opportunities, and there's a tremendous amount of assets that come with being part of this type of environment. Connecting with businesses and also showing the businesses that they're going to have something unique here in Western Pennsylvania that they're not going to find in a lot of places. They might get tax packages and incentive packages and so forth and logistics in terms of transportation. But where are they going to have this coordinated effort where the school districts and the higher education community are coming together and looking at a regional strategy? So this has really been about a private and public sector investment. This could not have happened without those two components. There's been, on the public side, there has been philanthropic organizations as well as the incentives and support from our county commissioners. But also on the private side, you're seeing a lot of also philanthropic organizations that are adding from corporate benefactors. But we're also seeing investments from our business and industry partners. So I think it's real. Our business partners do understand how important this human capital is going to be to their success, and they know that that is important. They are going to make investments. They are going to come to the table and be here. We have some business leaders here today, like Jeff Kelly in the back, who's been a long-time advocate for the manufacturing sector in this community for years and years, and has spoken not only at the state level, but nationally about the impact. So what are the ROIs that we have to look at? This collaborative strategic partnership between the public and private sector is an incentive to recruit and maintain and develop future entrepreneur and businesses in this area. When you look at the business opportunities, I'll give you a kind of an example. Most people here know the name Kennametal, what they represent, what they do. But there is a whole carbide industry that is surrounded by those. We know the names like Hamel. We know the names like Elliott. We know those major companies like Carpenter Steel, formerly Trobe Steel. We know who they are. But there are a number of other businesses that are part of that supply chain, part of that business cycle that is in their area. And if those larger companies start to struggle, those other little companies are basically the ones that feel the impact immediately. So they are definitely interested in coming to the table. So we need to look at a strategic leadership commitment to achieve this public and private return on investment. And that comes from the business and industry community, comes from Economic Growth Connection, the IDC, Jason's group, Chamber of Commerce, CHAD, the college, CTC, and K-12 partners. That's why we're here today. We're here to start talking about a collaborative conversation that will allow us to bring all of this together and return on the investment that has been made into your school districts from the public and private side throughout our Westmoreland County region. So who are some of the strategic partners that we've been building relationships with? This is only a partial list. I didn't want to get the font too small because of the presentation, but we're constantly adding businesses to there. And these are some of the businesses that we have been partnering with. There is opportunity here to even go beyond that. So I think as we start talking about, when I began my conversation, are the business leaders going to be there? Yes, they are going to be there. They're committed to the project. They understand the value of what it is that we're doing, and they're going to be very reliant upon us as a community to respond to these needs. So one of the things that the college started to do was create these short-term stackable certificate models. If you're looking nationally, you're seeing that industry is wanting individuals who have specific skill sets, and those skill sets are critical in terms of how do they align with the needs of manufacturing, but more importantly, how do they create a lifelong learning opportunity so people can continue their education through whatever level they want. There are many students who have started off at Kennametal as entry-level employees who are now doing PhD work for Kennametal. And you see that kind of a conversation happening very regularly. So the importance of the model is for the students to complete these short-term certificate programs, enter the employment market upon completion, and then re-enter education to continue to advance their degree opportunities. And we have that mechanism here in southwestern Pennsylvania, specifically in Westmoreland County, to make that happen. So the actions for making this happen to occur is that the ATC will be a link between the students, the high school education and career, state-of-the-art equipment and structure that we can share and leverage together. You're going to have a tour today. You're going to see how we can partner on this. Linkage for employers to sites. We have a lot of employers that are here at the Advanced Technology Center using this as a place of business. They're having customized training occurring here. So there's a lot of employers on site to interact with. You'll see the value added of the CTC education with dual degree opportunities and capstone courses, and the whole area of applied industrial technology. Industrial technology, you're going to hear a little bit about, is we're calling it the new IT. Many people think of industrial or IT as the computer sense of the word. There is more digital technology used in the manufacturing sector than there is in the IT sector. 70% of all the capital and private capital investment in this country is in the manufacturing sector. 90% of the patents that are issued in this country are related to the manufacturing sector. There is a huge investment, and we are sitting on that resource. And then you add the energy component to it, which can attract businesses and the opportunities for manufacturing related to energy sectors. So this whole concept of industrial technology is really an important part of what we need to continue to build out. And we're going to be finding new types of career opportunities here that are not going to exist. Let me just shut this down. Okay.
So an example of how this industrial technology component is starting to work right now, we've built partnerships with the CTCs, and everybody you're familiar with your school districts, the school to work initiatives with the program of studies and the articulation partnerships for students coming out of the CTCs would have advanced standing on their career opportunities. We've been working with the CTCs to build that up. It used to be there were about 8 credits. Marie's team and some other folks from the CTCs, we've worked with their faculty, and by adding competencies to their curriculum, we've been able to get those articulation agreements up to, in some cases, 12 credits or more. So what that means to us is that the students can complete 2 capstone courses in their junior, senior year. They can either take 1 course in their junior year, 1 course in their senior year, 2 in their junior year, 2 in their senior year, and upon completion of that, what they will do is they will get a certificate from the college in applied industrial technology that will be awarded to them when they complete our high school graduation. They can then bring that model on. They've now completed their first certificate. So what that means to them is that now these students have completed their first stackable certificate. They can come and they can add additional certificates to that and build out a pathway that will take them all the way to a baccalaureate degree and beyond. So you'll see some of the various certificates we have here. All of this information will be available to you. We'll make sure these PowerPoint slides are available to you, and also inside your package that if you haven't picked up, I would encourage you to pick up. A lot of this material is also in there. But as a student, we call it kind of the rubrics cube. A student might have a focus, in this case, coming out with industrial technology, and what they will want to do is maybe they'll find out they want to go into the energy sector. So they might take their applied industrial technology certificate and start looking at the natural gas certificate, or occupational health and safety, or petroleum processing, or process control technicians. They might decide to go down the manufacturing route, go into rapid prototyping, 3D printing, mechatronics. Mechatronics is a career that basically looks at electrical, mechanical, automation, and computer skills, and every industry, from the healthcare industry to the banking industry to the manufacturing sector, are all looking for those individuals. So some real examples of how this would work is that the students working with the career coaches here at the college, and then the career coaches, you've met Paula and Hope and some of our other career coaches, are partnering with the school districts as well as the CTCs, can have the students start completing their first certificate. They can pick a second certificate. Then they would be able to get their technical diploma, complete their gen eds. Depending on the certificate that they choose, there may be some additional courses, would get them an associate degree in applied industrial technology, and then we have transfer opportunity articulation agreements that we're putting together. Here's an example of how the mechatronics model works out, where a student basically, when they complete this first certificate, not only do they have a college credential, but they're also eligible to sit for the Siemens Level 1 certification upon graduation. If they complete the other certificates, they can sit for the Siemens Level 2 certification, which means that they're not only locally employable, they're regionally and globally employable. So there's a report out there that you're going to hear a little bit about during the panel discussion about what are these major trends. There's some major trends on the horizon that could have a big impact on the manufacturing sector as we move forward. And you're starting to look at those. And some of the research that has been done by the 113 industries here for Catalyst Connections, a study, this has been published, it's available for you to read. I think some of you might even read it already. Talks about these mega trends and these impacts. And what they do is they look at what are some of the major factors that are going to be influencing the electrical mechanical cluster is cloud computing, what they refer to as the Internet of Things, and advanced materials. So when you look at the cloud computing as a sector, you start looking at manufacturing now, as I mentioned earlier, has a tremendous amount of digital technology involved in it. So the whole idea of cloud computing, how do we start handling big data? How does that start getting built out into the industry? Manufacturing industry now is looking at that. What you'll see here is this data is based on the number of patents and the number of research dollars that are being invested in through NSF grants and other research opportunities, so you can kind of see where the money is leading us in terms of what the research opportunities are going to generate in terms of new practical technologies that the manufacturing sector is going to need to respond to. The Internet of Things.
basically everything now is connected. You have internet, you have data information that is being collected at the point of a spindle on a CNC machine that can be shared, and it can talk about the productivity, how effective those machines are working, what are the impact of the tolerances and how it's affecting everything. So all of this resource now, all this data is being shared, and industry is looking at that from a production, from an efficiency perspective, and talking about with these new metals and new processes, how is all that being tied in? Advances in material science. Many of you are walking around here today with a smartphone. The glass on that smartphone is probably 20, 30 years old. That technology was developed a long time ago. But the price point for that technology, that material, has come to a point now where the application and the price point are at a point where now it is being turned into products. So this whole area of material science. These are all concepts that we should probably be thinking about, looking at in terms of a STEM-minded careers and STEM-mindedness. How do we start preparing people for this world in the future, especially since this area is so heavily weighted in manufacturing and energy? So one of the things that we did to start looking at the pipeline is, most of you maybe not be aware, but October 3rd is our National Manufacturing Day, where manufacturing is celebrated all over the country on that day. And you'll see, we started hashtagging what we call the new IT, starting to get people to start thinking about what is the new industrial technology, because it's not just manufacturing. So on that day, what we did is we held an event here on October 3rd. We invited junior and senior female students from 2 CTCs representing 12 school districts. Each of those students came here and participated in a hands-on activity. There were scholarships, 2 scholarships awarded at the air, and our goal was to start to inform these young women about the opportunities that exist in manufacturing and STEM and energy that they may not have understood. The key was we had to start thinking about who these individuals are. These are your students. These are the students from your school districts that participated that day in this event. And they came down here. We pre-surveyed them about what their perceptions were, and we post-surveyed them about what their perceptions were. They received a shirt from that day, National Manufacturing Day. It was a day about women, for women, presented to women. There was a panel of women leader in manufacturing CEOs, owners of manufacturing companies, senior HR representatives were there. So it was really about women successfully completing careers and competing in careers in manufacturing and sharing those stories of opportunities with future women. So we basically, as I mentioned, we pre-surveyed 83 students and we post-surveyed 65 students about their awareness before the event and after the event. And here's some interesting numbers I just wanted to share with you. I'm interested in careers in manufacturing. 56% said before the event that was the case. 76% said after that was the case. We're talking about trying to build a pipeline. How can we only be talking to 49% of the population? There are more women than there are men. What do you know about the new IT? Before they came down, 21%. When they left, 63%. They're understanding industrial technology, digital technology. It's not just about brawn and brain. It's really about the brain. And it's about all of these career opportunities I talked about in that Megatrends document and the advances that are coming. There are career opportunities many people do not even think about manufacturing. So often you hear that manufacturing is dangerous, dark, dirty, and dull. Well, it's not that. It's opportunity. It's tremendous amount of opportunity, quality of life, livable wage. Basically, this was another very interesting question. I think women are just as capable as men to work in manufacturing. Numbers are changing. So, we awarded $200 scholarships at the end of the day. They were donated by the foundation. We had many business leaders. This was our first attempt at a National Manufacturing Day. We are going to replicate it next year. We're going to expand it and take it to another level. We're going to continue to focus on women, but we're also going to be focusing on other sectors of our college community as well as your communities about opportunities moving forward. So as we move forward from here, we'd like to work with the local school districts who are interested in developing additional pathways in STEM, technical area, academic areas, expanding career awareness activities, working on increasing enrollment in technical programs, here like at the ATC, creating our dual enrollment agreements with high schools to include technical classes, and develop new proposals and for our foundation partners, if we can come up with good ideas that can basically impact this region, I feel from what we've gone through as a college over the last couple of years trying to reach out to the community about opportunities and supporting this facility, I know that that community exists. I know that they want to help us. If we can come up with some strong ideas, I think they'll be there to support us. So, how has the Academy become part of us? We've increased interest in CTC and K-12 on tours of students. We're constantly having more students tour here. Counselors have been here. Many of your people, you're here today. Local school districts contacting us about expanding the academy to include STEM pathways. Corporate partnerships to build relationships with students that lead to employment opportunity, and increasing interest in post-secondary education and new career pathways that we talked about through those mega trends. So, if you have questions about the high school academy, here's some contact information. These individuals are available to come out and work with your school district and work with you and to help out with your team if we need assistance. And I'd just like to thank you, and I'll be glad to take any questions. My goal for today was kind of set the high-level picture of what we are seeing out there on the horizon and how we can come together as a group of educational leaders and business leaders to see how we can basically rise to this challenge. So that's the end of my comments. If there's any questions, I'll take them, or I can take them later on, whatever works for you, the group. How are we doing on time? I know we have another person calling in. Okay? Well, thank you, everybody, very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Doug. I think Doug's presentation speaks for itself. There's so much work to do in terms of connecting K-12 education to the community college, and as we talk about college and career pathways, STEM academies, I know that at Norwin we have been in consultation with Doug and Paula and Hope, and I know also many of the other districts have been doing the same in making sure that we build on those expanding learning opportunities for all of our students. So again, thank you, Doug. Wanted to just kind of whet your appetite as we go through the morning. We have one more presentation. We'll be taking a break soon. But be thinking about what the next steps should be for the Westmoreland County Forum on workforce development. And that's a question that we'll ask of you at the end of this session. How can we keep this collaboration going? How is it that we can expand the conversation now and in the future? Today it's my pleasure to have Dr. Dawn Talinsky come forward. Dawn is the co-founder and president of STEM Premier, and also with him today is John Welsh. John, stand up, please. John is the president, CEO of STEM Premier, and also he is the former president of Equitable Gas. Come on up, Dawn. Dawn and I have worked together in the past, and some of you might know that Dr. Talinsky is the former superintendent of Mount Pleasant School District, as well as Freeport area, most recently as superintendent of Seneca Valley School District. He'll explain the boot in just a minute. Dawn's a tremendous leader, and one of the things I really appreciate about him and our working together in the past is he's always been student-centered, as all of you are, and that's our reason for being here today. But Dawn and I had the opportunity to work on an agreement, and he'll explain more about STEM Premier. We're going to have a join me or a go-to meeting presentation on STEM Premier. But for all the superintendents, you have a sample agreement between the Norwin School District and STEM Premier that will allow students to showcase their skills and abilities and so forth. And it's a formal agreement that you still need to sign it yet, of course, you've been out of time. And we think that it's a great model that all of you might be able to share in. And Dawn, I'll let him give you the overview of how every student in Westmoreland County will have an opportunity to participate at the premium level of STEM Premier, that platform and networking system, as well as all full-time students at Westmoreland County Community College. So I can't thank you enough for your leadership and all that you've done. I'll turn the program over to you and Casey Welsh, who is in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be back here. It's home for me, and certainly it's an honor also to work with Dr. Kerr, and an honor to be back and working with all of you. The platform that you're going to see this morning definitely mimics everything that everybody prior to me has said. It's all about students. It's all about kids. It's all about community. It's all about keeping kids here. And that's what we've built. We've built a platform we'd like to share with you this morning about students being discovered, being ready, and creating intrinsic values within themselves by doing what the platform has them do. For the educators and the superintendents, I want you to know it's not something more on the plate of teachers. It's not something more on the plate of guidance counselors. It's student-driven, and all we ask you to do is help schedule the students to be able to get on this platform. Without further ado, I would like to get to the presentation by my co-founder, colleague, and a great young man who at one time was the kicker and punter at Purdue University. And you will note that through his discussion with you, he will talk about the creation of this platform based upon the athletic model prior to this. So we went from athletics and we said, why do kids in the technical fields and the academic fields not get recognized as well as a student who can dunk a basketball, run a 4.2, and throw a javelin? It's time we honor the students who are technically oriented and academically oriented. So, I think we have it ready to go. I'd like also just to mention to you the CEO of the company, John Welsh, who is sitting right there. I know Dr. Kerr took care of that for us. And again, thank you very much. We will be here after during the tour for any types of questions or even after the presentation. So if we can move forward and do this from Charleston, South Carolina, we're ready to go. Thank you.
You're a student, and you're developing some pretty impressive skills in academics and in the trades. But that's not all. There's way more to you than that. You're playing sports, volunteering. You may even have a hobby or two, or three. And you might not know it, but all those things you're involved in, even that, are very important. Because the more you're learning, and the more you're doing, the better you're prepared to compete. Yep, compete. Today's world is more competitive than ever. Colleges and companies are constantly on the lookout for top talent that will energize their organizations. And the competition is pretty fierce. So, if you want to be seen, you've got to stand out. And you'll need some help to do it. That's where we come in. We're STEM Premier, where students can get noticed and connect with colleges and corporations looking for the next generation of emerging talent. That would be you. Start by building a profile showcasing your skills, talents, achievements, everything that sets you apart. You can also upload videos, display badges, even attach files and highlight areas of interest. Think of it as creating your own personal brand. Colleges and companies can then find you, check out your profile, and connect with you directly to start a conversation. We know, very cool. But we don't stop there. STEM Premier provides comparative data which allows you to really see how you stack up against other students across the country. We also give personalized guidance, tools, and resources to identify your strengths and suggest where improvement may be needed. STEM Premier even offers scholarships and recommends organizations that match your skills and interests. Best part is, you can take it anywhere. And as you grow and improve, so does your STEM Premier profile. Now that's powerful stuff. Until now, students never really had a way to showcase what really makes them exceptional. That just changed, didn't it? So, go to STEMpremier.com today, start your profile, and don't go unseen.
Welsh here?
Casey? Yes, we are all here. So what's the temperature down there?
I don't know if I want to tell you.
Okay.
74.
74. Well, everybody just left. All right, Casey. This is Casey Welsh, co-founder of STEM Premier. Certainly, I'd love to have had him here, but he is a new father. And 1 week, I believe, ago, they had a young son by the name of Cameron. And so now we have another kicker coming up the line in the Welsh family. Casey, you are on, please.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for taking the time. We're excited about this opportunity. And what I'm going to do right now is walk you through a little bit more about STEM Premier. I know you had a chance to see the video there and get an idea of the entire concept. But as I'm sure you've kind of been aware, you know, our goal here in creating STEM Premier was really to have a place where everybody could come together. In the world of sports, you know, everybody knows who the athletes are. There's lots of opportunities. There's ways to showcase them, and there's mechanisms for them to be discovered and communicate. And really, we said, why don't we do that same type of thing for students, academic and technical students? So how do we bring them together to showcase all their best attributes, just like we do with athletes, as well as have a mechanism for colleges, corporations to find these students, communicate and recruit them, as well as economic development organizations to have the ability to understand the type of talent that they have so that they can promote it and say, hey, look, this is the talent that we have in this area, you know, bring in new businesses, fill the needs of the businesses that are currently within their region. And so that was one of the, you know, founding principles in creating STEM Premier. Now, what I'll do first is I want to take you through an example of a student profile. And now students can get on the platform starting as early as the age of 13. And this is something that they can take with them throughout their career. So as they go from, you know, middle school, high school, technical school, 4-year, whichever it might be, right into their career, they can have this portfolio or this mechanism that helps brand them with everything that they've done. So right now, I'm going to log into a student and show you a profile. So what this does really quickly, again, is we wanted it to be that baseball card, that stat that showcases everything that the student's doing. When creating the company and going and talking to large corporations and smaller corporations, large institutions, technical schools at all different levels, we went out there and we tried to find what everybody was looking for. And the answer was really, everybody was looking for something different, which is great. Really what it told us is there's opportunities for all types of students, whether you're a welder, you're an engineer, you're a technician, or you're a nurse. There's all different types of opportunities. So we wanted to make sure we captured that in a uniform format that was easy for the students to use, so the functionality being similar to a social media site, but in a professional format that they could build and take with them, as well as make it uniform for the companies and colleges looking for them. So as you can see, this is Marcus. You can see the high school that he's part of, the year, so when he's going to be available, his current either major or career pathway that he's in, and then you're going to see several blue boxes. Now these blue boxes change based on the student. So if I'm a student and I never took the AACT, but I took the SAT or PSAT, I can showcase that. If I've done, you know, this student obviously took Project Lead the Way tests. You can see his skills that he indicates as being his best attributes. You can also see credentials that he's earned. So whether it's a welding certificate, LEED, whether it's a Adobe Photoshop or Microsoft Office certification, they can showcase those. Again, anything that's going to set the student apart. And so these can be standardized tests, these could be ASVAB scores, they could be really anything. The student also indicates the areas they're interested in going into. So this student put engineering and construction. And as they go throughout their career, they can continue to update those. as they have a better understanding of the type of career path they want to go into. If they speak any additional languages, again, we wanted them to be able to showcase that, because anything that sets these students apart or gives them an opportunity, we want them to be able to showcase, and we want the other people looking to be able to find. They can put a host of accomplishments. So they can put what the accomplishment was, when they partook in it, a description about it, and even a link to it, so that they can capture everything that they've done and not miss out on something that really could be a differentiator for them. They can do the same with extracurriculars, community service that they do, any types of experience. So whether they're working, at as a cashier somewhere, or maybe they have an internship or a summer job. These are all things that differentiate students, and we want them to have a place to showcase that. Publications, so anything that they've written or maybe been written about in. So maybe it's a robotics competition they were part of, they scored the winning touchdown, or maybe they wrote something for a yearbook or a blog. Then we wanted to be able to let the students show where they were looking to go. So just like in the world of athletics, we built in a college tracker so that the student can indicate the types of schools that they're interested in going into, which ones they've applied to, been accepted by, and eventually committed to. This is a way for the students to start to think about it and showcase themselves, as well as a way for colleges and corporations to look and see where these students are interested in going, so that they can recruit them and look and be able to track the talent and where it's going. Again, we track their scores, the coursework that the student's taken. So what the course was, when he took it, or he or she took it, and the grade they received, in case that's of any importance to those looking at them. The students can also upload student files, and these files can be anything from transcripts to projects that they've done to cover letters in all different formats. So whether it's a PDF, a PowerPoint, an Excel, whether it's hosted on Google Drive or Dropbox. We wanted them to have all those different mechanisms to be able to showcase the best things that set them apart. If we go up towards the top, you'll see a video section. And this is really important for us at STEM Premier, because what we wanted to do was really have a way for these students to showcase two other attributes that we heard that there was a great need for. One was soft skills. So we wanted to be able to have a way where these students could put an interview of themselves up there and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm interested in doing, and this is where I would like to go. So the student can then showcase their soft skills, and really make their profile come alive. We also wanted the ability for students to showcase the work that they've done, the projects, the things that don't always come across in test scores. So whether they have a design project that they've done, they can talk about their role in it, and it shows it all within the profile. Or maybe they've done community service, a robotics competition, different design projects, and also equally as important, those students that have technical skills, hands-on skills, that they can showcase what they've done. And they can showcase it in all different formats. So the student that you all know that can take apart his engine in one night and put it together the next day, who knows that they can do that? We wanted to have that option for those students that have the hands-on skills to be able to showcase their abilities as well. Looking in the manufacturing world and the energy world and those different opportunities, those hands-on skills are extremely valuable, as you all know. The students can also put up badges that they've earned. They can talk about geographic preferences, so where would they like to go, different associations that they're part of, they can showcase that. And then you're going to see a little badge here at the top. And what this indicates is the career path the student would like to go. So for example, if I'm a student, I can indicate if I'm interested in going to a 4-year school next, if I'm interested in going into a tech school. Maybe I'm ready, coming right out of high school, I have a certification, and I'm ready to go right into the workforce. I can indicate that, as well as maybe military, if that's a track that I would like to go. So the student can indicate which track they would like to go, and they can continue to update that as they go forward. so that there's paths for all different types of students, not just the ones that are often considered the 4-year STEM engineering students. We wanted to be able to showcase them all. As you can see, it's all put together in an easy format that the student can go through and just put in these different segments of information, go down through it, and it automatically populates it in this user-friendly format. One other attribute that we have here is that the ability to take this with them. We realize that sometimes the students need a hard copy, so they can click a button and it exports the profile for them in a format that they can take with them and edit if needed. The last thing on this profile that you'll see is rating and ranking. And this is something that we did take from the world of sports in the competitive aspects, where the students, if they want to partake in it, our next one is coming up later in December, where we show how these students compare against other kids across the country. So that they can provide their information. We look at over 34 different metrics of the students, from standardized test scores to coursework to extracurriculars, and show how they compare in a star rating, just like athletes, so a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, as well as a ranking. And a ranking in the sense in saying, you're in the top 500 in the nation, or you're in the top, 1,000 in the nation. An accomplishment that they can earn in a badge, not in that Dr. Tolinsky is 56th and Casey Welsh is 97. We wanted it to be an accomplishment that they could get recognition for the work that they've done. We also decided to make it an optional field, so that if the student doesn't want to partake in it, they don't have to, because we didn't want to discourage other students from being part of STEM Premier because they didn't want that attribute. So that is all part of STEM Premier, and this is an example, again, of their profile, of their brand that they would showcase. The other side of this is a dashboard, and this is guidance for the student. So we wanted to show them how their scores compare, bring them all together into one format, make recommendations, show how they compare in the state as well as nationally, give them access to scholarships. So what we do is we provide STEM Premier scholarships, but we didn't want to limit it to that. This is a mechanism for any of our partners, anybody that's part of STEM Premier, as well as us, where we go out and we find scholarships that are STEM related and can post them on there so that the students can find them all in one location rather than going outside of it. We provide different tools, resume tips, career advice. So when Marcus put out, he was interested in engineering and construction, we provide majors that align to that, just to get them thinking about it. Real jobs that are out there, internship opportunities, as well as companies and colleges that want to be part of STEM Premier, they can also post their opportunities on here so that it becomes another resource for these students to get to. We also wanted to provide a way where these students could relate to the colleges and corporations and opportunities that are out there. So we provided a way where companies and colleges can create their own profile page. So a page that says who they are, what they're looking for, what they want to do. They can put videos up. They can put their social links as a way to get the branding to these students. When we're in Charleston here, short story, Boeing builds the Dreamliner here. They came here 2 years ago. They hired 6,000 people. When everybody heard Boeing was coming to town, a lot of the schools put in aeronautical engineering. This is a true story. When we were over there with them, they said, do you know how many aeronautical engineers we have? We took a guess. And they said 3. They said out of 6,000, we hired 3. They said, we need technicians here. This is an assembly plant, and we can't find these students with these technical skills. Can you help us promote to these kids and let them know you don't have to go to a 4-year school and be in aeronautical engineering to work for Boeing. You could go to a technical school, a trade school, get a few certifications and come here. So we wanted them to have that ability to be able to showcase that to the students so that they can begin to think about and say, hey, I really want to work for that company. I can get a great job. I like what I'm doing. I like what I would be doing, and I can make a good living at it. That's what we want to get to the students. The students also have this envelope, and it's probably one of the most powerful things that we have, and that is that direct portal. for colleges and corporations to communicate to the students internally. So we wanted to make sure we managed it internally, similar to LinkedIn, so that there was no external email addresses or addresses, et cetera, that went out. But just like in the sports world, where you get that first recruiting letter, that same type of functionality is here, where a student can get a message from a company saying, hey, we're interested in you. Did you know about this opportunity we have, or that opportunity? And can begin to build a rapport with the future talent pipeline. That way these students know what's there and can connect with it when they come out on the other side. So that is a quick overview of the student profile. Now, when they go to college or a technical school afterwards, it slightly alters to highlight majors, certifications, things like that, more career advice for the students. But it is a way for them to really showcase everything and have everything in one spot rather than looking for everywhere. This is all responsive design, which means they can take it with them. It's not something they need to download. It's a software where whether they're using an iPhone, an iPad, Mac, PC, whichever it is, they can take it with them and it lives with them. So they can just continually update it throughout their career, and they manage it, and it becomes their personal brand. The other side that I want to briefly show you is from the college, corporation, or economic development side. So what this will show you, is just like you saw the Boeing profile a moment ago. Companies or organizations that are part of it have their profile to brand themselves. But they also have the ability to post scholarship opportunities, internship opportunities within the website so that they can track this. They can see the type of talent that's looking at them. Different events. They can search for the talent based on the criteria that they want to look for. So if they're looking for a certain student with a certain certification or a SAT score or a geographic preference, they can find that student, they can see where they are, and they can begin to recruit them. They can begin to track them. And they manage all that within their own talent management console. So this is their dashboard, where, and this is just in a demo purpose, but if I'm tracking 14 students, I can see where they show up across the country. So I now see where these students are based on the lat and longitude of their school. I can see where they're going. I can view their profile. I can track them. I can see where the students would like to go. Where's their interest? This way I can promote and say, hey, look at all these students that have these certifications in my area to be able to promote those opportunities. Or bring these kids back into the area that may have a skill set but not know that they have a job that aligns to it there. I can look at, based on those 14 students that I'm tracking, I can look at their skills to see what their makeup is, their interests, their coursework, the grades they received as an average, their test scores, so I can change those. I can also do the same for, if, for example, this scholarship that I posted, I see 42 people viewed it. I see 8 students applied for it. I can now look and say, all right, well, show me this dashboard for those 8 students. And now I can see where those 8 students are across the country, and actually across the world. I can see the skills of those students, their coursework, what their averages are, their scores. So I can start to get metrics on them to see where the talent's going. Is it staying in this field? What opportunities can I promote to them? How can I bring it back? It really is a way to bring it all together in one location, to have that portal where they can all connect, they can all manage it, and they can recruit directly, just like in the world of athletics. So that a student can get seen no matter where they are in the country, whether they're in a very rural setting, or maybe they're in an urban environment, or a metropolitan environment that has a lot of population. They can let their skills be seen so that nobody goes unseen across the country. Just like if there's a 7-foot, 8th grade basketball player in Norwin High School, every school in the country is going to be there trying to recruit that student. That's what we wanted to be able to do. And so that is a quick overview of STEM Premier. Dawn, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, that was very good, Casey, and we appreciate you coming to us from Charleston, South Carolina. Certainly the offer to all of you, I believe in this room in Westmoreland County, is that STEM Premier is willing to offer all of your students the ability to get on the premium level of STEM Premier for free. And we want to showcase them. I know that the county had a number up there. 97% of the students want to remain here. I heard about Kennemetal. I know a lot of people that work at Kennemetal. 30% of the workforce retiring. We need to fill those jobs. We also need to develop the workforce, but we also know that potentially there is the workforce because we are doing a good job in these districts. And the kids are there, but we need to showcase them to these industries, and the industries need to know they're there. Plus the industries that are coming into Westmoreland County need to know they're there, because I know they are. And that's what STEM Premier is all about. We want to showcase what we have and create intrinsic values in students who want to stay here and work here in Westmoreland County. I'll take some questions. Dr. Kerr, Casey, great job. Thank you very much. And I'll talk to you in about 10 minutes.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure and it was an honor. Look forward to hearing from you all soon.
Thank you, Casey. Good luck with Cameron. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
We'll hold some questions maybe for later in the morning. Dawn's going to be around. We want to try to keep to our schedule, so two things real quickly. First of all, I want to thank John Welsh, Casey Welsh, and Dr. Chalinsky for the presentation today. Thank you very much. I think it's a tremendous offering to all 17 school districts in Westmoreland County, because here it is. Westmoreland County School Districts will be the first county in the state of Pennsylvania to be in partnership with STEM Premier and also in cooperation with the Westmoreland County Community College. It doesn't exist anywhere. Doug Jensen has talked about Dawn and I and some others making a national presentation at a future conference, and that whole model will be shared at that time. So Dawn will tell you more about the agreement, what can be done, and so forth. We're going to take a quick break. The one thing I promise is there's going to be more interaction now with the panel and all of you. I know you've been sitting a long time, and we've been pushing a lot of information out. Don't forget to sign the board over here. We're going to start promptly in 10 minutes. Before we get officially started, I just wanted to make a comment. I saw an excellent article yesterday in the Tribune Review about Kiski Area School District. Dr. Meehan is here. You hosted a collaborative among 10 school districts where there was a focus on technology education. It was an outstanding article, and everything that came out of that day, John, seemed to be very positive, and it's something that we want to continue in the area at least once or twice a year. So thank you very much. I wanted to acknowledge that article. Okay, now we're going to go into a phase where there will be more interaction and some panel discussion. And it's my pleasure to introduce Chad Amon once again, who is the president of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce, and he's going to facilitate a discussion among business, education, and industry leaders. We'll have Chad introduce everybody. Chad?
Thank you, Dr. Kerr. I missed a meeting, and so I was elected when I missed that meeting to facilitate. I'm going to do my very best. I'll like to say Phil Donahue. Maybe it's more closer to Jerry Springer. But we've got a fantastic panel here. This all kind of came out of a conversation that we had. There are several of the superintendents, some of the directors of the CTCs, and we were planning this program. And what started was essentially a panel discussion. And as we were planning the morning today, we said, well, wait a second, maybe we've stumbled upon what we need to do in the room to ignite the conversation among the supers, among the business leaders, and among some of the education leaders. So let me make some introductions. Hamill Manufacturing Company is located in Westmoreland County, was founded in 1952. With over 50 years of manufacturing experience, the company specializes in precision machining, welding, fabrication of complex components, which has established them as a well-respected company in a variety of industries, including defense, power generation, glass, steel, semiconductor, aerospace, and transportation. Hamill provides engineering services such as drafting, tool design, structural analysis, non-destructive test disciplines, and metallurgical evaluation. Hamill has grown from the original 3 employees to approximately 115 employees. Please welcome the CEO of Hamill Manufacturing, Jeff Kelly. Jeff? For over 100 years, companies around the world have chosen Elliott for design, manufacture, and service of their critical turbo machinery. Elliott products and services are used throughout the world in oil and gas, refining and petrochemical industries, as well as other process and power applications. One of Elliott's primary manufacturing facilities is located right here in Westmoreland County in Jeannette. Elliott brings economic stimulation to the region on many fronts, including a variety of technical and non-technical job opportunities for Westmoreland County residents. Elliott in total employs more than 2,200 people at 34 different locations worldwide. Please welcome the Vice President of Human Resources for Elliott Group, Brian Lau. Catalyst Connection is an economic development organization dedicated to helping small manufacturers in southwestern Pennsylvania improve their competitive performance. Their advisors, consultants, and instructors are highly motivated experts with academic degrees and real-world manufacturing experience. In addition to training and consulting, they administer financial programs which can provide funding for equipment and machinery. Since 1986, Ed Wagner has worked with manufacturers to plan and implement process improvement, business development, workforce training, grant funding, and management strategies. Before joining Catalyst Connection, Ed was program manager for a DoD contract and specialized in managing projects to provide e-business solutions and contract management services for manufacturers all across Western Pennsylvania. Please welcome the Regional Director for Catalyst Connection, Ed Wagner. And finally, founded in 1970 with its main campus located in Youngwood, Westmoreland County Community College offers 63 different associate degrees, 13 diplomas, 55 certificate programs, with options to prepare students for a career or transfer to a baccalaureate program at four-year institutions or directly to the workforce. WCCC offers flexible scheduling at 9 locations, including the Youngwood campus, and campuses all around our region, including the facility that you are in here today. Please welcome the new president of Westmoreland County Community College, Dr. Tuesday Stanley. So the morning session was like drinking from a fire hydrant, I think, in some ways. I think that one of the great things that we could do as a group, and we said this is all about us this morning, about our community. You're all out there doing some fantastic things. I wrote down some notes. The BOTS IQ program is fantastic. STEM Premier, I think, is a very exciting program. Counseling for Career Services, the Pathways Initiative that Eastern Westmoreland is doing, and you all have some great programs that are going on in your districts and in the community. I'd like to talk to our panelists first and ask them, what are some of the programs that exist now that you think are moving the needle in the right direction in terms of workforce development? Let me start with Jeff.
Well, I'd like to talk about BOTS IQ. It started in 2006 in Westmoreland County. We actually targeted 5 CTCs. And we had 7 teams that first year. Next spring will be our 10th year. We have over 65 schools. Over 1,000 students will be participating in BOTS IQ. The key to BOTS IQ is the fact, and by the way, this was largely, almost extensively driven, completely driven by private industry and volunteers. It's remarkable the kind of growth that we've had. And we service, as I said, over 1,000 students who are being exposed to the world of manufacturing. The important thing for us in manufacturing is that people don't know we're around. There's over 3,300 manufacturing companies in southwestern Pennsylvania. Most of you probably don't know that. Most of them are small. Consequently, how do you get young people to understand what the opportunities are? Well, you have to expose them to and create an awareness about what manufacturing is, and BOTS IQ is the perfect milieu in order to do that. So that's why I'm really proud of it. It's growing exponentially. We've brought tremendous resources to the program from the foundation community, Mellon, PPG, Alcoa, and all the volunteers and all the small companies. Every company has to be aligned with a team. So it's been a great experience. And if your school district's not involved, you better get involved.
Dr. Stanley, you're coming new to the community. You've been here for, what, 4 or 5 months now. You've got maybe the freshest set of eyes on programs that you think are are really helping to move the workforce development initiatives forward. Tell us what you think are a couple or one of the ones that really stands out to you.
Right, so, you know, we've mentioned so many of them. I guess I'll speak in a more general term, is that I think what works is when students can set a goal and see themselves in it, and then, again, get that hands-on experience. So you know, reaching into the high schools, engaging the students on what is that end goal. I was having a conversation yesterday with someone about the hope theory, and so if you prescribe to the hope theory, then you know, you understand that students need hope and grit, and the hope is that what I'm doing today makes a difference for my life going forward, and how do I see myself getting a job? What does this today mean for the future? And so the programs that you mentioned all do that. And then it's the grit. How much time on task do I have to commit? What is the reality of the situation and what I need to take to get there? And so and how much grit do I have to stick to what I need to do to see the goal through? And so I guess I'm a big advocate of that hope theory with the hope and the grit. And the programs that we have started to engage in here with the college and the high schools and industry partners all have those components.
Very good. We want this to be interactive. If you have some questions for the panelists, let me know. We'll pass the mic around. I'm going to ask Brian. Brian, what is the most pivotal change you've seen in manufacturing and trying to recruit skilled workers in the last 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I will tell you that yeah, we've added probably close to 400 people in Jeanette, or Jeanette location alone over the last 3 to 4 years. Technical engineers, they're out there. We can find those. We do have people coming out of the colleges, mechanical engineering, electronics engineering, that's there. It's a skilled trades that we can't find, and that's the machining, welding, even the maintenance crafts are kind of a dying breed at this point in time. And you know, it's interesting, and we talk about all these programs to introduce and get them interested in technology-type programs, but the one thing that I think we do fail to do, and I'll say Elliot's as guilty as anybody else, is to providing that vision that Tuesday had talked about. You know, what are manufacturing jobs? You know, get in the environment to see what they are. We don't do, you know, we've done some of that, and I will tell you most of the students walk away kind of overwhelmed about the type of you know, skills, labor that we actually have in our Jeanette facility. It's getting them that exposure, you know, to actually consider those type of manufacturing opportunities that I think is extremely important that we need to really develop.
Ed, how about from your perspective? Because Brian may have a totally different look at this problem from an employer that has a huge number of employees. You deal with some of the smaller manufacturers. Are they seeing the same problems?
They are, and probably one of the biggest needs, and I hear it almost on a daily basis from manufacturing executives, HR managers. You know, we need people with these critical skills, the industrial technology type of skills that were mentioned earlier by Doug. And so there are some existing programs out there that help fill that gap very well right now. Some of them, for example, NTMA has an apprenticeship program. There are some other types of apprenticeship programs out there. I think those are great. I think what the community college here is talking about in terms of the stackable certificates, I think that's an excellent idea because the small companies need customized training, very specific for their shop floor. So the more flexibility you have with these types of initiatives that are offered, the better. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some things Catalyst is doing. Our Ventures in Technology program gets down to the grassroots level of bridging the gap between the schools and groups of students and the industry. And we've had great success with that. Small groups of students going into manufacturing facilities, taking on some projects to intrigue their interest in manufacturing.
How about some thoughts from our group that's gathered here? There has to be some questions that are out there that we want to ask the panel. And these are the folks that are in the trenches every single day, just like you. And part of the point of the forum are to bring together these ideas and these minds to sort of feed off of one another. I guess if until you're ready to be the first one to jump in the pool and raise your hand with a question, I'll ask you this. There's probably an expectation on the side of the school districts and the superintendents. There's another expectation on the side of the business leaders and the institutions that the students are coming from. Talk about the expectations you have from each of your perspective on what are the minimum STEM expectations that you might have from someone who is graduating from high school. Brian?
Yeah, I will tell you, coming into our organization, we typically do not hire directly from a high school. We typically will hire from, some of the VOTEC schools, WCCC, to be able, where they have the machining and welding skills necessary for us to build upon. We've worked closely with WCCC to actually develop programs that, try to, align their curriculum to what we need. So coming out of there, we'll take them and we'll finish them off to actually, be able to do the on-the-job training in the shop. And we've seen a vast improvement in, that alignment. Where before, we had a tough time, being able to find people with just the basic skills. I remember when I first started Elliott almost 7 or 8 years ago, the welding programs and the machining programs at WCCC were small. I mean, you're talking 10 to 12 students. Now you're talking 30, 50. So we're seeing better quality candidates coming out. So I think that we're bridging the gap. We're slowly getting there, but at the same point in time, we have immediate needs that we got to figure out a way to be able to speed things up and be able to provide the technical talent we need.
Ryan, what are the expectations that you have?
Well, I'm very happy with when I get a young person from a CTC program from out of Westmoreland County. They typically have enough of the basic skills that we can build upon that. The problem is there aren't enough of them, and I really, we're a company that's been built on the CTC model. I mean, my president is a CTC graduate. I have a lot of belief. And if we get a chance later on, I want to talk about CTCs in particular, because I want to give a message to the superintendents here about my view of the CTCs. But I've been very pleased with that. The trouble is, and the nice thing about us is we're a small company, so I only need a few good people every year coming out of that program. Somebody like Elliott is looking for 300 or 400 people in the last 3 years. That's a huge, huge void to fill. It's very, very difficult. One of the problems we're having in manufacturing now is that the big guys are stealing from the little guys, and it's really making it difficult I'm not going to complain about
Not guilty as charged.
But it's a problem. It's a problem, and it's great for the workers, but it's not good for the companies because you spend a lot of time training, and then they go elsewhere. So we really need to fill that pipeline, and the CTC is the perfect place to fill that pipeline.
Well, let's stay there. Let's stay there. You brought up the CTCs and the message that you want to give. If you had the opportunity to be in front of the leaders of the CTCs in the school districts, this is it. So what is that message? What is the message?
Here's the message. I've been a member of the Workforce Investment Board since it started in 1999. We had an initiative started 3 years ago to improve the CTCs. I firmly believe the CTCs could satisfy all the workforce development, particularly in manufacturing and energy, could satisfy all the workforce development needs of this county and beyond if they were managed properly. But I think there's 3 fundamental flaws with the CTC system in Pennsylvania. I don't like the way they're governed, I don't like the way they're funded, and I don't like the way they're organized. For example, I think it's crazy they have 10 schools supporting one CTC, and you have kids coming on bus rides 4 times a day to get to and from that school. That makes no sense to me. How does a kid get benefit out of being in a bus for 2 hours a day? Unless you're going to make that bus ride part of the curriculum and you have the technology that could really get that kid to use that time productively, that would be one thing. But until those problems are solved, and frankly, I know this for a fact that most guidance counselors will say to a young, dynamic, smart kid, you don't want to go to the CTC. It's a pejorative if you're a techer. That's our perception. Maybe it's wrong, but that's our perception. And that's a sad thing, because if you saw the technology that we use in our company, you see the sophistication that we approach our jobs with, you'd say, I want to send the brightest kids to the CTCs, because that's the kind of people that they're going to need, and they're going to have great opportunities. So I think you all need to look yourself in the mirror and say, what are we doing here in terms of the CTCs? Are we shortchanging them? Because I really believe you are.
This is a perception from one of the lead manufacturers in our county. I want the supers to respond, the CTCs to respond. That's how we start this dialogue. That's how we keep the dialogue going, because there's clearly the need, there's clearly the importance of the programs. Anyone want?
Chad, just
yeah, please.
Ask the question. How many billions of dollars has the state of Pennsylvania put into the CTC system in the last 40 years? It's huge. It's huge. And are you going to just throw that under the bus and say it doesn't work anymore? Because I think essentially that's what the practical response has been.
You know, Jeff, one of the perceptions that we've heard from the other side is that these aren't careers, these are jobs. You know, people can go into manufacturing and get a job. Can you speak to that? If somebody comes to work for you, what is the career path? What are their possibilities for moving not only ahead in your company, but in other companies? How does that work? How do you support them? You know, how can a kid coming out of a high school or a CTC make a lifelong career out of manufacturing?
There's just so many things in it. If you really understood what was in a manufacturing company, you realize that there are people on the shop floor, there are people welding and they're machining, but there are engineers, there are people that do design, there are people that do so many things. My president, half my management staff is made up of CTC graduates. So yeah, there's a lot of careers there. And I can tell you, and I'll let Brian speak to a larger company where they have 2,000 people in that company. I'm sure there are even more pathways for people with those kind of skills.
Brian, what are some of those pathways?
Yeah, you know, it's almost endless. I mean, you know, from Jeanette's standpoint, we exhaust the barrel as far as promoting within, and that's the reason why we've done so much hiring from the outside, is that anybody who's interested in a career with Elliott have gotten the promotional opportunities over the last 5 years. I will tell you that, you know, the thing that I go back a couple of decades, and I had friends that would just join the military for 2 years to be able to get, you know, the vet benefits, so I can go to college when I get out and get assistance. Well, you don't have to do that today. We pay, you know, somebody comes on at Elliott, we'll help them get whatever career. If they want to become a mechanical engineer, I'll pay 75% of the cost. You don't have to do that. We will help people develop to where they need to go. And those programs are out there. We need to do that. We're an engineering company, and it's kind of a job shop. And what we make for a customer is just one thing. We don't produce widgets, 1,000 widgets a day. We manufacture one part. We assemble one part into one unit. You know, these are large units, you know, worth on the average 30 million a unit. And so from that standpoint, we ship 30 to 50 a year. So these are people who need to know what they're doing, can take engineering drawings and apply it to a part. And yeah, the other comment that I'll make too is manufacturing jobs aren't what they used to be back in the 60s and 70s. You know, back in those days, you did hire somebody to run a machine, and that's all they did. Not anymore. I will tell you that, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, we downsized. You know, Elliott was part of the manufacturing downsize. A lot of these industrial engineering people that we had are gone. Have we added them back? No. And where do we push those responsibilities to improve processes, to improve quality? It's the operators. And we do a lot of things through lean manufacturing to be able to capture that knowledge, then be part of new designs, new processes. So, you know, those critical, you know, it's good to have, you know, some of the technical skills necessary to be able to produce, but we're also looking for, you know, some of the critical reasoning skills as well that will allow somebody to be able to contribute in a much broader way to Elliott than just running a machine.
We'll shift gears for a second. Jeff, you brought up an interesting topic about the distance with the CTCs. Dr. Stanley, this building, everybody probably had to, you know, maybe bring their passport or pack a lunch to get here today. How are we going to get over that distance piece? Because I know for a lot of, we've sat around the table, we've talked about it, right? The distance is an issue. How is the community college and organizations like yours and the CTCs going to be able to work on that logistics piece?
So, I mean, granted, when you're talking the high-tech fields, you have to have the equipment and the machinery. It's not as transportable as perhaps some other things, but that is why these partnerships are critical. And, you know, I would say that while there may be the expectation of parents and others that you don't go into certain fields, you go and get a bachelor's degree, there's also the reality of the situation. And we have underemployment and we have unemployment and we don't have enough people to fill the jobs. So there is clearly a disconnect between what is expected and what is actually happening. We're not having this conversation because everybody's at work and they're fully employed. So, you know, I think there has to be a dose of cold water and reality that is shared among parents and others who have perhaps these expectations. And, you know, I tell my kids all the time that, you know, some of these things are a part of life, right? So while, you know, distance may be a real issue, and there are some people who don't have the means with which to, you know, to transport themselves, and none of us have the money to set up a bus route. You know, the metro system doesn't have the money to set up a bus route to get everybody where they need to be. The only way that you get out of poverty is to invest in yourself, right? And you're not going to live next door to your job either when you get out of school, whatever schooling that might be. So to have an expectation that you can drive 5 minutes, again, I think it's a whole educational process. And I'll just make one other comment since I have the floor for a minute. And that is the contextualized learning piece of this. So I do think that is another thing that we really need to focus on, because so many students say, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at English, I don't want to go into these fields, I just want something where I can just do the trade and get out. And then, but we all know we need all of those other skills, right, to be a really good employee. And so by contextualizing that learning, all your math is done around what your program is about. So every math problem you do relates to the program at hand. Every paper you write is about the program you are studying. So that again, it is about knowing how everything relates to what you want to do and where you want to be. So sorry to go off your topic, Chad.
No, this is the beauty of the panel.
Hi, I'm from Junior Achievement, and we're a nonprofit that works with a lot of the school districts in the area. One of my questions to all of you would be, do you think that this is something that we should be talking at a younger age? You know, our high school students are fantastic and they're great people for us to be working with, but what about exposing these kids at an earlier age to actually see the process of being through the CTC program? What are your thoughts on that?
Who wants to tackle that one? Ed?
That's an excellent point. I think that's something that we're not talking about enough, and something that has to be planned and offered as early education to help young people understand not only where the opportunities are, but the value of an education where you work in an industrial technology field. I think it's very important for young people to understand that, you know, possibly even at the elementary or the middle school level, to really get them to understand what's out there. When they get to the high school level, they begin then to make some really important decisions about where they're going to go. And there's probably a greater demand right now, some of the studies I see, in the technical fields, more so than maybe even in the professional fields, and they need to understand that. So that's a great question.
Very good. Thanks for the question. First one to jump in. Thank you very much. I think, Chris, you have a question?
I'm trying to assimilate what all four of you are saying, but I wanted to follow up on some of your comments, Jeff. I think that most of the folks in the room would agree with the bureaucracy that we're under with education. I'm from Ligonier Valley, and I'm really proud to say that 34% of our students go to the tech center, and most of them achieve very highly on the state assessments. From an educator's perspective, we hear a lot of the times that we're not preparing students for the jobs of the future, and we hear a lot about soft skills, and we hear a lot about the drug issues, employees, candidates not being able to pass the drug test. But from a really practical level, if you were Secretary of Education for the day, the two of you from industry, what would you change? What would you have us start to think about in preparation for the opportunities that you provide to our students?
If I had an unlimited amount of resources, I'd send all of you to Switzerland for about 2 weeks. Because, and I did spend a week there in 2010. I watched their apprentice program, and it's a very interesting, it's part of their culture. They understand that 70% of the kids, in 9th grade, every Swiss child has to make a decision. Are they going to go on an academic track, or are they going to go on a technical track? 70% of the kids in Switzerland choose to go on the technical track. And there's a collaboration, there's an understanding in the culture that companies are going to train, they're going to, apprenticeship is alive and well. Those things are really, really important. And to echo and to bring Dr. Stanley's point about contextualization, the best way to have a kid learn is to actually have them learn in a contextual way. That's absolutely critical. That's why Watts IQ is so successful, because kids are learning in spite of themselves. It's a stealth learning process. And so I would say you need to see models that work. And the model for me that works particularly well is the Germanic model. Switzerland, Germany, Austria. They all have it. They've nailed it. They understand it. And that's what I would do, because we really need to start getting kids or parents to understand that where real great opportunities are. And they're really not in the professional area. We have way too many lawyers, we have way too many professional people that are unemployed, that have huge college debts. And we hear this over and over again. But if you take I can give you an example. I have kids that they start as juniors in high school in a co-op program with us. By the time they get out of high school, they already have 7 or 8 NIMS credentials. And you only need 12 or 8 to get a full apprenticeship, to be a journeyman in our world. I have 22-year-old kids that are making their down payment on a house. They have no debt. Their futures are bright. And if they look at their colleagues that went off to IUP or some place to do elementary education, they're so far ahead of them that those other kids will never catch them. And because the future is so bright for people in manufacturing in the technical fields. So, I mean, I could talk for an hour, and I got 30 seconds to do that, so I'm kind of rambling here. But the point is, there are models out there, and I think that's what I would do. Educators need to understand what models work, and the models that really work are the ones that Europe has developed.
We're gonna stay with that question, because it's a great question, because it's the magic wand question. So Jeff, pass that magic wand to Brian. Brian, if you had the magic wand, what would you have done differently? What would you change about the system that would make a difference?
And to go back to Jeff's point, I mean, we have a lot of operations in Southeast Asia, and I will tell you, just the perception of education there is different. I mean, there, you know, not only from a family standpoint, but also from a government standpoint, education is valued. And students there, if you look at, it's kind of interesting, and talking to those people, they don't get much more from an instructional hour standpoint on an annual basis, but what they do get is, you know, a strong parental and system support to where they're getting tutoring outside 3 to 4 nights a week. They're spending more time, you know, learning than what our students do. And they're held accountable for that. It's a social, I want to say, a social norm over there for somebody to, you know, they'll put, you know, 10 hours a day. And I'm not necessarily saying that it is, but that's the difference in the culture. And when you look at how they score, you know, from a STEM standpoint on a world basis, you know, I think the only other one, you know, is I think some of the Norwegian companies or countries do a little bit better, but for the most part, I mean, they're right in the top 5 consistently. And it is, if I had a magic wand, it would be, you know, change the system to add more accountability, more expectations upon a student's learning. Because I really think that students will respond to expectations if they understand and if the consequences are there. And you know, you know, when I grew up, and most of you, you know, I'm probably a little older than most of you, so, but I knew that if I didn't apply myself in school, I had problems with my parents. I really did. And you know, we tend to lose some of that over the years, and that needs to be back in. That accountability and expectation to perform needs to be built back into the system. Now, I don't have the answers, but it needs to be there.
Apologies. Yeah. I have a couple things. If I was a czar for the day, is, you know, the similarity between K through 12 education and the community colleges is you don't have a choice on who comes to you, right? And so, you know, the benefit of being in a highly selective institution is that your average or norm has been set for you. So what we do every day is we teach to the average. And so, you know, keeping the outcomes in place is important. But if I could change the system, I would institute where you teach to the student and give the flexibility to the faculty member, to the instructor, to the teacher, to teach to the kid's ability. And so to guide our students, but then to allow them to function on their own to whatever level they might function to. Because I do think that that will then move students who are better at some things than others through more quickly. And then again, to get them to focus on what they envision themselves doing or what we can help guide them to do. And they have that passion and they stick with it. Again, it's that hope and grit. Others who need more attention and guidance can stay, you know, on that segment of the curriculum that they need to. And so that would be one of the things that I would like to see at some point in my lifetime. But since I'm clearly, you know, nearing the average of old age, I don't know. We'll see.
Excuse me. I'm John Welsh with STEM Premier. I just want to make a couple comments that I'm kind of on this side of the table and also on your side of the table for my past life. But before we launched STEM Premier, we spent about 2 years, and this is going to support several comments that just came out. That's why I wanted to mention this. But we spent 2 years talking to, you know, corporations, talking to industry, talking to educators. A couple of the key things that we fell back to, one of our founding partners with us, companies, is on the board of directors of the NDIA, which is National Defense Industry Association in DC. And it came up several times in several meetings, and this was part of the idea that helped drive STEM Premier, was to find students early on in their careers, not after they hit college or technical schools, but even before high school, which is, kind of supports the lady from Junior Achievement over here. And to be able to reach out to those students, because once they're in college or once they're in technical school, they kind of have their career path set, and it may not meet the needs of these major corporations that will be hiring. That's why we want to reach back as far as we can, and we'll even go as young as age 13. But, you know, it's the middle schools when you need to start looking at these kids, and corporations need to show them the opportunities out there. Just a second comment, be real fast. Also had the opportunity personally to have a conversation about STEM Premier with Eric Spiegel. Eric Spiegel is the CEO of Siemens, and extremely great program in Europe, in Germany. They take kids into their program in high school. When they come out, they'll actually almost have an associate degree, but besides that, they're guaranteed a $50,000 a year job to start. But the key is, you know, again, you got to get to these kids, let them know before high school, help them, because in high school, in that period, they can also start to build, you know, substantial credentials, and if they can tie with a program like maybe Elliott or the Siemens has, they come out of there really set. But it kind of supports everything we're saying here, kind of from a third party, non-education, non-industry here.
Very good, thank you. Other thoughts? Panelists, some other thoughts here.
I'm Ken Bissell, I'm the coordinator of secondary education at Greensburg-Salem. Just some of the comments that I heard, I think that all of us as educators, we want the accountability to be extremely high for our students, and we push for that on a daily basis. And just a couple days ago, we were talking about this issue with our entire staff, and we brought up the ratio 1 to 7, which I was glad to hear you say 70% in Switzerland, because that ratio is, and what we heard with Boeing, for every one person that goes into the workforce, that one person needs a master's degree or higher, 2 need a 4-year degree, and 7 of them need just technical training. So that 70% that you mentioned matches that. I think the problem for us in K-12 is most of us went through a process of 4-year degree. We know education, we go into education, and in many of our school districts, our teachers are more of the parent figure for those kids, giving them the guidance. They're the boots on the ground with those kids. It's very difficult for them to explain what the jobs are in the manufacturing. And I guess the question is, has there ever been talk of having programs to, I guess, teach teachers or parents, if it is a district where the parents are much more connected to the kid, to teach them about that ratio?
Hold on to that. We're going to talk about that in a bit. Hold on to that. That's a good thought. I mean, I think that's something for the next steps to discuss.
I wanted to say that.
Brad has a question. Go ahead.
I wanted to say that back when I was involved with school to work in the mid-1990s, that was the conclusion I came to, was that you educators are in a very insular community. You start out in kindergarten, you go to school, you go to college, and you go right back into the classroom. And it's just a reality. It's just the way it is. So my question then is, what do you really know about what goes on in the outside world, in the world of industry, in the world of manufacturing? Not your fault, but the reality is you really don't know much. And so what do? You'd say to a kid, well, you need to go on to college, you need to go on to this, or go on to that. It's always about more education. It's not ever about, after education, you do education for a reason. You want to do something else with that. It's a tool. But when it becomes the end in itself and not the means, that's the problem. And that's, societally, that's a problem we have in this country. Education is right up there with ma and apple pie. And we think it's the be all end all. We think if we send somebody off to a school, our job is done. But that's not what we have. Now we have trillions of dollars in student debt in the country. It's a huge break on their lives and on our society's lives. And it's, unfortunately, it's debt that's been incurred that is largely was unnecessary. And we really need to take a hard look at our whole model of how we educate what we think is valuable.
Back here in the CTC corner. This is, so, they want to weigh in, Brad.
Good morning. My name is Brad Elwood. I'm the director at Central Westmoreland Career and Technology Center. What I'm hearing globally is a paradigm shift, is what I think we need to start thinking about, and what Jeff's talking about and all the panelists. Since the 40s, and when this World War II veterans came back and the Korean veterans came back and all that with the GI Bill, it's been the only way to success is through a 4-year college degree. I believe that paradigm is starting to shift, and that's what we're talking about today. Two other notes. Jeff, just to let you know, on the legislative front, from the Pennsylvania Career and Technical Administrators Association, PACTA, we are working. We have a lobbyist that has been talking to, and Kurt could probably even address this a little bit more than I, where we're trying to work with the legislators to try and help come up with some ideas regarding funding solutions for the career and technology centers through the districts. Nothing, guaranteed yet that I know of, but we are working at that, so that kind of helps to address some of the concerns that I know you've had in the past. And then the young lady that talked up here in the red about education. We have a career educator that goes out to our sending districts. She does not come into your districts with a big sign, hey, I'm recruiting for career and technical education, but to help meet your career education and work standards, she comes in and helps educate the students from elementary and middle school about careers. So we're trying to help start to make that paradigm shift. Thank you.
By the way, I was invited to a bill signing this coming Monday. The governor will be signing into and it came out of our Workforce Investment Board recommendation to the legislature that they're going to now allow CTCs to qualify for EITC, Education Improvement Tax Credits. Only problem is there's enough money in the pool. And so I'm not sure if the CTCs are going to get any money for that, but I certainly would, we participate in the EITC since the beginning, and we would be happy at Hamel to spend some of our EITC dollars too. the CTCs.
We're going to stop right there. I see Dr. Kerr giving me the look that we allowed 45 minutes for the panel discussion. I'm going to make one comment, and gentlemen, pick on you for just a moment. You said on this side of the table and that side of the table. If you remember when we talked about this morning, we're all on the same side of the table here. We are all trying to figure this out, whether it's industry, whether it's the CTCs, whether it's the superintendents. We're really trying to ignite the conversation. I hope that you found the panelists as insightful as I did. A round of applause to please thank our panelists. They will all be sticking around for a few moments. I'm going to turn back over to Dr. Kerr. The panelists will be here for a few moments. If you want to have a one-on-one, have some questions that you'd like to ask them, I'm sure that each of them would agree to partake. Dr. Kerr.
Thank you very much, Chad. I think Chad Amon's done a wonderful job today. A round of applause for Chad. Thank you, Chad. Once again, thank you, Dr. Stanley, Mr. Wagner, Mr. Lapp, and Mr. Kelly. Thank you for being here today. A couple of housekeeping chores. We're going to take you on a tour of the facility. Doug is going to give some instructions in just a moment, but I want to make two quick announcements. Dawn Talinsky will be presenting to the Westmoreland Fayette Workforce Investment Board on December 8th. Gary and Bill. Gary Densel's with us today. Bill Thompson from the WIB Board. That is at 1 o'clock. And my understanding is that that is open to superintendents and business industry leaders to attend to hear, once again, information about STEM Premier. So thank you. Doug, where's Doug? One in the other room. We want you to come back after the tour. The Economic Growth Connection of Westmoreland's providing lunch. We want you to stay for lunch. And then we want to have a wrap-up just prior to that to talk about what are the next steps. We're not going to take a great deal of time, but we need your good thinking. We need to stimulate the conversation as to what those next steps might be. What do you think? Twice a year, larger forum, in between perhaps some small group sessions on specific topics, maybe lunch and learn, whatever that might be. Anybody want to start the conversation on?
Bill, I'll just comment that,
Tuesday?
sure, I'll start it off, right?
Thank you.
That I really enjoyed today. I'd like to see us continue. I think that only by working together collectively can we actually make some of the things that we talk about all the time a reality. I would like to see perhaps an opportunity to have more interaction and more discussion if this moves forward.
Yeah, I think our committee really agrees with that wholeheartedly, that there needs to be more interaction. But today, I think we've been all bottled up for weeks from the planning commission, planning sessions. We needed to share some specific information. Other comments about today? Bill Thompson from the WIB Board.
I think just an opportunity, I think I can carry my voice. I think an opportunity, maybe at those kind of sessions, are to showcase some of the activities that are going on. And again, I think my experience, you're not going to find something that fits all. So if you were given each district maybe an opportunity to see some of the, Bots IQ, what Latrobe's doing with Kennebec, a lot of those great initiatives that are going on, and maybe that's a good way for people to learn and pick up and adapt or move forward.
That's an excellent comment. I think the Bots IQ, the Young Engineer Program with Kennebec, Latrobe's a good one.
There's plenty of initiatives that I think
sure.
are happening.
Mr. Kelly, Jeff.
Bill, I would not want to see a one and done situation. Business is continually frustrated about what we think is.
Since we're taping this for the community college, we need to pass this down.
I don't want to presume that I can speak for all of my business colleagues, but I can tell you that I think there's a real deep frustration with our perceptions about the education community and their lack of willingness to engage the business community. I'm sure there are pockets of where that's not true, but I think in general, perception is that we have these silos. There's the educational silo, there's the business silo. And I think the only way to break those silos down is to actually have frequent discussions. And there's going to be a lot of wasted time because everybody wants to tell their war stories, and everybody else knows about those war stories, but you have to give that person their opportunity. But nonetheless, I do think this is a great opportunity to have business, to create a synapse between the business and the education community. If that doesn't happen, we're all going to be the victims of that lack of working together.
So it's a shared responsibility, so how would you suggest that we get people together on a regular basis, not perhaps in this large forum, but
I think you need to go in and see what's happening in the world of business, in the manufacturing community, in the energy community. You need to get the educators out into those areas and see. Don't have a forum in an academic environment. Have a forum. I'm sure Kevin would love to host. I'm sure there's a chamber and some other people could arrange these kinds of things where people were actually should understand what's going on in those communities. I mean, in those businesses, those industries.
Thank you very much. I know that's happening in some communities. Judy Swigert from Latrobe saying that. Do you want to maybe comment on that?
No, we did a lot of businesses.
For those who've been around a while, we used to have educator in the workplace and also the school to work. So I think that we've experienced those programs over the years. You're back.
We're back. We were herding cats. Jeff, we love you. You know, and one of the reasons that we love having Jeff here is because we think it is really important to have people that aren't afraid to speak their mind. And Jeff does that, and does it in an incredibly articulate way. But I'm going to give it the other side, because we've got 15 school districts here that came to have that conversation. And you know, we think that's important. We also think, you know, and I represent business and industry, but I think that there is a responsibility on business and industry's part as well. And we've all got to be at that table. You know, we've all got to sit around, we've got to do it. And I agree completely, there are silos. But I will tell you, I don't think it's just education's fault. You know, I think it's business's fault as well. You know, I've talked to a lot of superintendents over the last couple of years, and the first thing I hear is, well, I don't see any businesses reaching out to me either. You know, so we've got to get past that, you know, pointing the finger of who's doing what, and realize that we've got a lot of folks here at the table willing to work together. And I think that's part of the important message out of this. You know, the value that I've seen that's come out of this so far has been the conversation. And we've got to keep that conversation going, because we don't know what all the answers are. We don't even know what all the problems are. But we know that if we don't handle it together, we're never going to find out.
I want to hear from the superintendents and the educators. Give us some feedback. Was this worth your time? Was it worth spending a half a day? We've all got plenty of meetings to go to, believe me. We know that you have busy schedules. We didn't know what to expect this morning, but we sat down with a handful of the superintendents and CTCs and said, let's try to put together a forum where we can initiate the conversation. We know that conversation is happening in some pockets here and some pockets there. Latrobe's doing some great things, Mount Pleasant's doing some great things, Norland's doing some great things, you're all doing some great things, but we weren't aware of a conversation that was going on to impact the county. So let us know. You can be brutally honest. Say, hey, you know what, Chad, Jim, thanks for putting it together. We'll appreciate the lunch. It was nice to have the tour, but we got more than enough stuff going on. If you think that there's value here, give us the input and say, hey, who do you want on the panel next time? How do you want this to be done? Do you want to have a roundtable? Do we need to have the superintendents together? I mean, this all sort of stemmed out of the IU's meeting. So are these good days that work for you? We need that kind of feedback, because we're not doing this to put our names on the wall alone. We're doing this because we think that there are challenges that we have in this county, in this community, and that we all are the only ones that are really going to be able to come together to solve them. So be brutal, give us the feedback. Jamie holds back a lot, so.
Judy's reminding me that I am being recorded, so. A couple things. One, from an educational standpoint, I consistently hear my colleagues and superintendents talk about providing opportunities for students and creating opportunities for kids. and not just within our walls, but into their future. And so today was a great start to dialogue that can't end, because we have to come together in terms of finding solutions to the barriers and obstacles or the silos that are created that we just talked about. When I look at this, as a group, we need to come and talk about duplication of services, duplication of programs, how we can streamline what we're doing in a way that creates equitable access for students and for districts. And we have to come ready with real solutions and ready to put resources toward it. But agreeing with Jim, I also think business and industry needs to be at that table and be part of that solution. It's critical. What we're talking about is a paradigm shift in terms of how we provide an education to kids. And if we don't overcome these barriers, these basic barriers, in terms of distance, I look, my friends from the Northern Tier, my neighbors, from Ligonier, from the other end of the county, Bell Vernon, if we don't find ways to overcome the barriers in terms of the distances to provide those equitable services, we will continue to spin our wheels. But the other thing is, we're talking culture. We're talking our culture as a community. I'm a parent. I'm a first-generation college graduate. As a parent, I want my kid to do more than I did. And we can't fault our parents for that. So what do they expect? What do they want? What's been drilled into them? That a college education is a pathway to success. Until we work with business and industry to establish those pathways so that they can see it differently, until we're at the same table creating a different picture, it doesn't matter what we do. And so we have to come together. We have to talk about all those things and how we can get that parent to see that my child may have a different pathway to success. But it is. A parent doesn't want their kid to have a job. They want them to have that career. And so we have to work together to do that. And we can only do it when we put our egos outside the door and get at the table and come with solutions and quit making excuses. And that's every side. So, thank you.
Other comments? Going to wrap it up in about 3 minutes.
Over there.
Yes.
I think you all have a fantastic group, an audience here that's phenomenal with all the superintendents, the business leaders. And a lot of the groups that I participate in, we always say the two things that we're missing are the students and their parents. So how do we get them involved in this conversation as well? Because the students, you might hear what the students are saying through your teachers, but really giving them the voice to have some say in what's ahead for their future, as well as the parents having that opportunity to speak to them about more than just the college education, because I think that's a barrier that we all face as parents. You want to have your child do better than what you did. So giving them the opportunity to have a say, I think, would be a fantastic addition to the forum.
Spot on.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to the final phase of this conversation. How many would be in favor of a spring forum? We don't want it in May, for sure, for the school purposes. And we have testing. We'll work around the dates. Any interest in continuing it? Okay. And then you, Chad and Jim, how do you see it unfolding? What would you like to see? And see if we can wrap it up for discussion.
And we agree with you, by the way. That's what we're thinking. You know, the start of this was we needed to get all of the people who are steering the ship in the same room, and then find out what you're thinking. If we're off base, you know, what the next steps are. But what we're envisioning is something much bigger for the spring. And the thoughts are that we would, at that forum, make it something much, much, much larger, and include parents, include teachers, include students, include guidance counselors and principals, and open it up and have business and industry there, you know, and then talk about this, talk about how we really need to come together to solve the issues that we've got. If we don't do that, we're left behind. But we can't do it without those folks in this room. So this is step one. And from our standpoint, Bill, you're asking us, I think that conversation is important. We have regular planning meetings. Anybody in this room that would like to attend those, we'd love to have you. I don't care if it's 50 each time. I'll provide lunch each time. I think that would be awesome. And we'd love to have you there. So if you've got an interest, if you can make it once in a while, we want to see you. If you can make it to everyone, we want to see you. It's that conversation that matters.
Get handed the microphone. I guess I have to say something. Right? I think that the next piece of it is I get the sense, and I'm just trying to put myself in the seat of the educators. It seems like there was a lot coming this way today. A lot coming this way, right? I think that the next time it needs to be coming from the educators, from the districts to the businesses, because if you're really going to have a two-way street, this isn't about business preaching education. It's about us, and it gets back to that. So I think that a component of the next time around really needs to include the educators having their opportunity to share what the challenges are on, if we'll call it on your side of the table, because my guess is that it's not just living a dream running the school district today, right? And so if that's the case, there are challenges that I think business needs to understand as well. Because, for Jeff and his company, CEO, you snap your finger to a certain extent, all due respect. Snap your finger as CEO and you can make a change. As a superintendent of a school district, I think I get a little bit of a nod of the head there from Judy at least. You have a different set of challenges. And I think that both sides, if you're going to affect change, each side needs to understand what the challenges are that each encounters. So I'm going to end it there. I ramble on too far, so I'll give it back to you.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, Bill.
I think that's a good point, Chad, of having the educators talk to us, but maybe if that discussion could be, what are the challenges that prevent the career and work standards to move forward? And the career and work standards have been approved in the state for many years. What are the challenges that each district has implementing those kind of standards in their daily lives? And maybe there's ways that businesses can help meet some of those challenges. And I think that would be a productive way to try to get that conversation going.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Mann?
Bill, just as a superintendent's group, we can work on that in one of our monthly meetings of what kind of feedback we can provide, similar to what he had just suggested, as what are those barriers, what are those things that we know it's going to be legislation because of the high stakes testings and all these other things that go on in our world that and a lot of times prohibit us moving and changing that culture shift until the demands on our districts and our superintendents in the educational world change a little bit.
Okay, on that note, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Let me just say one thing. I think Doug Jensen said this earlier. We need to strategically partner as public-private entities. And we're going to work on that. One of the things that we talked about at one of the planning sessions was, in fact, breakout sessions, roundtable discussions, so that we can actually sit and interact and have open, honest dialogue with business and industry.